What are your funniest D&D stories? Early on in our DM let me possess my dog to keep playing. I proceeded to play as a charismatic, albeit haunted, German Shepherd with a katana crudely duct taped to it for the rest of the campaign. How was it taped on? The side, perpendicular to the body? On the snoot? To the tail? It was taped to the side, in a sheath, handle side pointing towards the dog's mouth so she could grab it to fight. To quote my DM, if we're really doing this, we're doing it DD's sneaking suit style. My player played a Psion, who had a spell which made his eyes light up like cars' headlights. He walked around a dark dungeon along with his group, killing everything in sight. While in the area where he knew there would be a boss nearby, he silently walked up to a door, and looked through its keyhole while his eyes were still on. The monster boss saw the light coming through the keyhole, and broke down the door, which hit the Psion's head and knocked him out. Was playing a bard, we were fighting a hydra. I was in the back singing, but our rogue had gone down. I wanted to tumble forward, stab the hydra, it was near death, and heal the rogue after it died. I roll for tumble, nat 1. Hydra takes a bite, nat 1. I roll to hit, nat 20. It was ruled that I tripped on a loose stone, with my sword out, and happened to trip into one of the waiting mouths of the hydra, sword first, such that I impale it and kill it. It was a grand total of 12 damage or so, low strength, non-magical or weak magic, +1, sword, and it was the only damage I did directly to the hydra. I was solely buffing my party that fight. Was the rogue okay? In that instance, yes, she was fine. Later on in the campaign, though, she died, and I got into a guitar duel with the Grim Reaper for her soul. Learned the hard way to not look a bodak in the eyes. Story a friend told me. He had never played before, and was invited by one of our mutual friends to a D&D night. Of course, being a brand new character, he didn't really get to do a lot of fighting. They mostly just had him carry stuff. One of the things they gave him was a teleportation stone. The way it worked, is that they would set an anchor point in a village or home base, and then the stone could be used to open a portal to that spot for quick escapes. He decided to see what would happen if he threw it into the ocean. Ended up displacing the whole ocean, and flooded the world. Game over. Game over? Sounds like a missed opportunity to extend the storyline into a post-apocalyptic after the flood campaign. Who wants to roll pirates? I do. We were playing the early part of a campaign and our party enters a temple where a bunch of people are sitting around on their knees, not paying attention to us and chanting. The DM describes the room and says there is a big circle drawn on the floor. And then says, "What do you guys do?" I asked him what the circle is made of and he says, "Ash or something similar." I say those magic words. I break the circle with my foot. Complete silence for about 15 seconds and then the DM begins grabbing books and flipping pages. Ends the night early and says when we get together next time the whole campaign will be going in an entirely new direction. Yep. I broke the DM. Still hear that line "I break the circle with my foot" from time to time and makes me chuckle every time. One thing it taught me as a DM is you can never plan for every eventuality. The things the barbarian gets the paladin to do. I was DMing the party, my wife was playing a paladin with a hippogriff for her mount, and our friend was a barbarian. The party had accidentally stirred up the undead around an orc village. They'd been forced to retreat into a box canyon, and the entrance to the canyon was completely blocked by hundreds of skeletons. Unfortunately, nobody had brought any blunt weapons, so all their attacks were suffering damage reduction, and it was taking forever for them to do any real damage to the skeletons. The barbarian had a quick chat with the paladin. His suggestion was that she should get on her hippogriff, fly up to about 100 feet, then jump off, curl into a ball, and drop into the skeletons to do bludgeoning damage to them. After all, he reasons, falling damage from that altitude would only be 10d6, but she'd cause 10d6 damage to any skeletons she hit. She could hit multiple skeletons, and it'd probably kill a bunch of them. And then, she did it. She actually did it. Flew up to 100 feet. Shouted "Cowabunga!" Jumped off, curled into a ball, and went rolling through the skeletons like a cannonball. Now, whenever they're facing difficult odds, the barbarian's first suggestion is, "Hey, paladin, remember when you went bowling for skeletons?" Our druid has a move we've taken to calling the dwarven elbow, wherein she turns into an eagle, flies above our enemies, and shifts back into a dwarf and lands on them. It's great. Our group calls falling on our enemy for shared damage. Descending elephant. Asked to kick an undead king in the balls and rolled a 20. He was stunned for 2 turns while the entire party ganked him. Can you define ganked in this context please? It will determine my visuals. Daggers going in and out of his back, a spear getting sunk into his skull, and some fire spells on his legs. Ah, so this was not an erotic type DD adventure. Gotcha. Player, I walk up to the door, rub it with my hand. Slowly, and say, babe, I know y'all open for me. DM, erases that area of the map, and redraws the door 5 feet further away from the player. The door steps away from you. That reminds me of a story I read somewhere. I spent the last hour looking for it but couldn't find it. That went roughly like this. DM, at the end of the room there's a door. Rogue, I check for traps, fails roll. DM, you don't notice anything, looks like a normal door. Rogue, I lick the door. DM, the door licks you back. Roll initiative. Mimics are a gold mine. NPC rolled to attack an NPC child, rolled critical miss. DM explained it as, fuck you kid. Fuck you mister. Enemy gets punched in the balls by the kid.